Hello and welcome to FWTV episode 27. Today is Friday, August 13th, 2021. I'm your host, Janie Hansen, here along with Q for your weekly market update. Big topic today is yesterday's WASDE report and the subsequent wild day in soybeans. We'll also cover wheat, the corn yield number, and finally some of the reports on the broader economy, including producer price index and consumer confidence. Tell us about WASDE, Q.
Well, they surprised us yesterday, and it was hilarious because beans were trading 16, 17 lower on the day, and they came out and they dropped the yield on beans to 50 bushels to the acre, and it was up 50 cents in a second, and then traded all day wildly, and then closed almost unchanged. So
a whole lot of sound and fury.
Yeah, it was sound and fury, but highway of death kind of a thing, because there was a lot of people that got caught both ways big time, and because they were trading, the volume was big yesterday in the beans, and it was really a surprise report for August, and we're beginning to wonder if the USDA has really got their what together.
Yeah,
because it was just it was a big number that they dropped without really anything behind it, and we're not seeing it in the crop tour as well.
Okay, so people aren't trusting those numbers.
Yeah,
based on other
we're starting
indicators.
to wonder if they've got their own games going on, like the rest of Washington. But USDA has always been one of those agencies that's really been trustworthy. But we're beginning to wonder about them now. So trust is hard earned and easily lost, and there's a lot of people talking, what in the hell are they doing out there in D.C. with these numbers? And, Informa keeps saying that there is big corn out there, big numbers. And, the yields are bigger in beans too. And, of course, that's all satellite engineering that they're doing it. So we'll see at the end of the day. And if it turns out that Informa was right and the USDA was wrong, it's going to be a big, big trouble for the USDA, because what we'll do is just stop, watching these reports the way we do and going with them.
Yeah.
So anyway, besides that, it's caught everybody, and nobody was happy last night.
Yeah. So I kind of had the Friday the 13th, a day early.
yeah, they got that. So it was, it was probably not a good day to be down at the bars, on the South Street, because there's a lot of PO'd people. Tears
in the beers.
Yes.
So, and how about wheat continuing to rally?
Wheat continues. It's interesting because, the wheat fundamentals turned, about 3 or 4 years ago. I was talking with Anthony Crude on CME Radio, and he was talking about how, I was the ultra bear in the wheat market for years. And then I said, it's starting to, it's turning. I'm not saying it's going to go bullish, but yet, the pain is over. And that was $4 ago in wheat. So, it's just one of those things where, I didn't predict it was going to go $4, but yet it's really pressure and you understanding the broad nature of these markets. And, wheat ripped again this week because they took Russia down from 80 to 72.5 million tons, which is another huge number to come down, just month to month. And, we were thinking, the pit chatter is really the 76, 77 maybe, but it's certainly not 72.
So is this all drought related that people are thinking that
it was
weather conditions are affecting
a bit drought
crops
related,
more?
Especially in the spring wheat areas up in the Urals and Siberia, but yet we had a bit of dry weather, and they're saying that it's a result of some of that. And we saw the crop tours. Mike Lee, does a really good crop tour in Silvicon. Those guys were not predicting these kind of numbers. And again, we're beginning to lose our faith in some of these numbers coming out, because, Silvicon and Mike Lee actually walked those fields over there. So I would trust them. But of course, famous last words when the market's, ripping 10, 15 cents on you. But at the end of the day, you got to pick a point where you realize that they have overdone it. So very, very interesting in wheat. The market structures in wheat. Hard wheat is creeping up, as we've been talking about week after week. Creeped up again this week. Got up to 12 under Chicago. The game will be afoot if Kansas City goes over Chicago. So that's one thing to really watch for. Pretty much all the wheat structure is $2 over corn. So they're trying to buy acres away from corn and beans. So I mean, the game is afoot. Everybody's really after it. So the question is, what is who is the greediest? Who is the most exposed on the upside of this thing? It's probably soybeans. Okay. Probably. When it's all said and done, and we will see. But one of these three wheats is too expensive. Yeah. And it's really, as you well know, when you trade Sybil, she can get into you pretty deep before she lets you loose. Yeah. Even if you're right. So you got to really, really watch out for these markets. But it's August, it's hot. Dog days. Labor Day's coming up. We're starting to think about harvest now. Cutting and stuff like that. So around here, Blue Earth. I mean, we've had 4 rains the last 7 days. And the crops are okay here, so that's great. Yeah. Because if everybody, I hate to say it, but dear Lord, please kill everybody's crops but mine. Is the prayer for these guys, and it looks like we've got another good crop here that take advantage of unfortunately some other people's weather problems up north. Yeah. So with the corn yield numbers that we talked about earlier, how is that affecting the markets and some of these market structures? Well, what's happened is, the psychology of the corn market broke down the last 2 weeks. And then this thing has just reignited all these characters who think, there's just, corn is going way up. And, it's just one of those things where, I don't even believe the number coming out of USDA. I really don't believe it. The crop tours, 2 bushels higher. They just came out today. So, I'd rather listen to that than the other thing. But all I hear about out of Illinois is this is the biggest corn crop and wheat crop ever coming out of Illinois. Depends on how these hybrids, have weathered the weather. Exactly. And the beans, this is going to be really interesting this year because the bean yields and the bean genetics are starting to really take hold, year after year. We're starting to see that. It was like 2013, 14, 15. I started to see a big difference in the corn, what it was yielding based on what I was seeing, early in the season. Like 2014, I thought, we'd be lucky to have half a crop with all the rain problems we had and how the beans were soaked. And they just came through like champs. So, really got me thinking that these genetics are, you can't be looking at 88 and saying, even the same weather, this is going to be a different game. Yeah, because they've got more resilient crops. Exactly, and much more resilient, especially in the last 10 years. And, that's the deal for you farmers is, are these genetics worth the high prices of seed you're paying? Yeah. That's the key question you must ask yourself. So as the end user of this thing. Yeah. So and speaking of prices on the inputs, the PPI, the Producer Price Index, which measures wholesale prices, that came out earlier this week. Surprise there again? It was huge. I mean, I was watching Bloomberg when the number came out. They looked like somebody shot their dog. I mean, it was expected a 0.5% increase. It came out at 1.0, double. Wow. And that's 12% inflation year over year when you add it up. So it's just like they were stunned. And, what that means is that the narrative that this inflation story is transitory. I mean, that's what the Fed keeps pushing. This is transitory. But of course, I mean, if you watch The Big Short, Paulson said there's, 2 days before Bear Stearns went, you know what? He said, the financial system's fine. 2 days later, crash. Oops. So it's really, are they talking it like this to stop the panic, which is probably more true than not. That's what, the traders, we don't believe what they're saying out there anyway, especially this stuff. Yeah. So, the numbers are coming out, excuse me, bigger and bigger as far as pricing. Housing is up 23%. The numbers just keep coming out, and with freight rates so high, I mean, I think people are in for a shock at Christmas time when they go out to buy their kids' stuff, because it's just like, assuming you can get it out of China, with freight rates, 300, 400, 500% higher than last year, it's really going to be a tough game come Christmas time.
So, and then consumer confidence
Oh my
came
God.
out today.
That came out today, and it was 82.1 was the guess. Came out at 70.
A little more pessimistic.
Well, this is the lowest level since 2011.
Okay.
So, I mean, the last 10 years, excuse me, allergies, it's August. Got to deal with it. Otherwise, I'll have to take pills and be passed out here on the couch.
Keep you vertical.
Keep me vertical. But, yeah, it's with the PPI like this and then consumer confidence rate behind it, big trouble in Afghanistan right now. Looks like we may have another Saigon there. So, I mean, none of you are probably around young enough to remember or old enough to remember Saigon in 78. But, it's really, things are interesting. Nat gas is really taking off. The electrical grids are under enormous pressure right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this heat.
The heat, especially in Europe. Two Spanish systems are in big trouble because of the lack of gas coming out of Russia into their system. So, it's really, and you taught me a lot about this. Talk about electricity and base load and all that sort of kind of stuff. Where if it has to be run around the clock, you have to be able to turn one on, one off, and stuff like that. And it's really interesting that when you make decisions, sometimes you crap in your nest.
Yeah.
And away you go. So.
Yep. So, yeah, Mother Nature is not fun to try and predict.
Well, even the predictions are one thing, but when you shut off one method of energy production and then the other goes down, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it takes a long time to ramp something else up.
Well, you were telling me something about nuclear power. It takes like what?
Yeah,
week?
like with coal or nuclear, it can take a day or more to get ramped up, as opposed to some quick start stuff. So being able to sculpt the electricity production with the demand, with the load.
Yeah, and I guess while we're here talking about this stuff, I remember that ERCOT thing last year where it went to like 11,000.
Yeah.
And remember I was talking, I said, it's like 1 billion degrees down there in the summer, and the grid is under pressure down there from the heat, and of course, population keeps growing and growing down there. But yet, nothing like what happened last winter. So, I wanted to start thinking about this. I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist, but, even though I am. But, figure out what's really going on and what really happened last winter.
Mm-hmm. So, any other things to keep an eye on this week ahead?
With nat gas being where it's at, I mean, and crude oil, I mean, people do not appreciate when crude oil goes up $10. I mean, it just ripples. Because, I mean, everything from your nail polish to your fertilizer, is affected by that. And you've got to really be careful about your cost of production, especially in farming, but, some of the other industries where you are energy dependent. Because, our economy is essentially a function of the energy we produce. And whether it's technology, that's where we get our productivity from, is we use electricity to produce more than we ever did before. So it's really interesting. You've taught me a lot about this energy stuff. We're going to be talking about that a lot the next few weeks, but especially, coming into the dog days of August and heading into, Labor Day, what's going to happen with COVID? Is that going to, drop a bomb on the, crude oil demand? They're saying that, they may force people to do something to fly even interstate or go overseas. So, we may have, jet fuel drop again, demand. So, I don't envy these guys out there in the oil patch because
having to plan.
Having a plan. I mean, who knows? I mean, you could either, pump it all and end up selling it for 20 or negative 40 like last year. So, but anyway, that's why we have markets, and this is why, you got to put on your big britches if you're going to trade this kind of stuff. So. Mm-hmm. It's a real deal, and these are real markets. I recommend everybody be extremely careful right now.
Mm-hmm. So.
I mean, stock markets at crazy all-time highs. 3,500 in the Dow. Holy smokes! I mean, you thought I was insane when I said 33,000, 3 years ago, and I mean blew through that like it wasn't even there. Mm-hmm. So it's really, you got to watch out because the bubble's starting to build, the air is starting to go into the pockets now. Mm-hmm. And when this thing goes, you better
Hang on to your nylons.
Yes, because it's going to be a fast ride somewhere, indeed. So anyway, interesting. Anybody out there who's got some questions, it'd be interesting to start talking about some of this stuff. Because, Janie and I do sit here and blab a lot about this stuff, but, interesting to what you think about it, especially some of my ag Twitter buds out there who watch this on a regular basis.
Yeah, we can get the comments in the live stream to get some Q&A.
Yep.
So. All right. Well, thanks, Q. And to hear more about what these market movements mean for grain producers' sales, check out our website, thefarmcfo.com, and the Croptimize Hedge Report in the Croptimize Pro subscriber dashboard. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.